So I want to tell a story about myself. It has to do with fishing. I'm a fisherman. I'm from Idaho. I've been fishing several times, so this isn't going to be about a specific time or a specific place. It's just going to be about general instances that I've had in the past. And so I've been fishing times, when I'm fishing with a worm or I'm fishing with a different type of bait, that when I am fishing, I'm not getting any bites, I'm not getting any type of indication that there are even fish in the water. And too often before I know it, there's fish coming to the top and they're eating something off the top, and I still can't ever seem to, you'll see a fish come up and you cast into that area and you still can't catch that fish. And so in those times I've thought to myself, how nice it would be to have my fly rod, my fly fishing equipment. And so in this speech I'd like to explain how the difference between fly fishing and bait fishing matters sometimes, and what fly fishing is and how it differs from bait fishing. So my name is Corey Waters. I've been fishing all my life, and I've been fly fishing for about 10 years, and I'd like to share how fly fishing can change your fishing experience. So to start, I'll give just a short history on fly fishing. There was a historian named Aelian, as it's short. It was Aelianus is his name, but he lived in the early ADs. This story is from about 200 AD. He shares a story about the Macedonians and some things that he observed. And the Macedonians, they had a way of fishing that he thought was odd. And he explains in a quote, he says, they wrapped their hooks in red wool and then attached to each of the lures 2 of the yellowish feathers that grow below a rooster's wattles. They lower these lures into the river on lines about 6 feet long, and the fish are so excited to see the bait that they rush up, mouths wide open, and are quickly caught. So that's one of the first documented instances of fly fishing and how that whole art form began. So if we move forward to the time span between about 1800 and 1850, which is considered the era of innovation for fly fishing. This time period marked the invention of many of today's equipment that are used, such as a bamboo rod, the clamped foot reel, which is this type of reel where it clamps into the fishing rod. And many of the fly patterns that we use today were created then. So now I want to talk about the different types of equipment that there are, and I'll start with the rod itself. So fly rods are generally longer than bait rods. These are the difference. So the fly rod is about 9 feet. This one is a little over 6 feet. The length of a fly rod depends on where you're fishing and what size of fish you're going after. Fly rods tend to use a different type of line. The line itself is what casts, the weight of the line is what casts the fly, whereas on a bait casting rod, it's the weight of the bait that you're casting that will get the bait to where a fish may be. No live bait is ever used when fly fishing. There's different types of flies and things, and I can show you guys these. Each type of fly serves different purposes. So there are streamers, which imitate minnows or leeches. There's terrestrials, which often imitate like grasshoppers or beetles or even mice. Dry flies, which imitate bugs that have landed on top of the water. And then there are nymphs, which go in the water, and they imitate bugs at different larval stages as they are growing. Pass those around. Just don't hook yourself. Fly fishing differs from bait fishing in that it requires a special skill Norman McLean, who is an avid fly fisherman and author of a popular book, A River Runs Through It, wrote about bait casting. He said, "It is an art that is performed on a 4-count rhythm between 10 and 2 o'clock." So, bait casting rod, you just try and hook your bait out as far as you can, but fly fishing, you actually use the weight of that line, like I said earlier, and it's the technique that you use to cast that will project that line out there to get your lure to where you want it to go. And then another skill that a fly fisherman needs is to have the ability to match whatever bug may be hatching in the water, and so you're trying to imitate what the fish are eating at that time. In conclusion, I'd just like to say that next time you're trying to catch that big fish and the fish are taunting you by not taking your bait, the worm or whatever it may be that you're using, try fly fishing, and you'll be able to catch fish that you didn't know were even there, and you may even become addicted. Donald Trump Jr. was quoted by Mont Burke in Forbes magazine as having said, "I may be the first Wharton grad to leave school and become a trout bum. During the spring and summer, I'd work for a few months and then spend a month living from the back of my truck, hitting all the Blue Ribbon rivers in Wyoming, Colorado, and Montana." That's the end of my speech.